Mastering Respect: 6 Stoic Strategies for Handling Disrespect with Grace and Strength. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling disrespected or unappreciated? It's something that happens to all of us at one point or another, and it often leaves a bitter taste that lingers long after the interaction ends. Whether it's a snide remark, a condescending tone, or outright rudeness, the feeling of being disrespected can be deeply unsettling. It's hard to shake off, and it can trigger emotions that seem out of our control. The reality, however, is that the way we respond to disrespect largely determines its impact on us. This is where the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy comes into play. Stoicism, a school of thought that traces its origins to ancient Greece and Rome, offers profound lessons on how to handle moments of disrespect with grace, without losing our peace or power. Imagine a world where disrespect doesn't shake you, where you are not triggered by the words or actions of others. The Stoics believe that our peace of mind is something we can control no matter what happens around us. By applying Stoic practices, we can handle disrespect with wisdom, calm, and resilience. These practices over time not only help us manage difficult situations, but also allow us to grow emotionally stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So let's explore 6 actionable Stoic strategies that can transform the way you handle disrespect and lead you to emotional mastery and peace. The first Stoic strategy to consider when faced with disrespect is to respond with compassion. This is a powerful yet often overlooked response. At first glance, it might sound counterintuitive. How can compassion help when someone is treating you poorly? After all, isn't it easier to respond with frustration or anger when you've been wronged? In fact, responding with compassion is one of the most profound and transformative tools in the Stoic toolbox. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, often reminded himself to view others as people who are doing the best they can with the circumstances they face. People who disrespect you are not necessarily doing so because of something you've done. Often, their actions are the result of their own struggles, emotional turmoil, or lack of self awareness. This perspective can be profoundly liberating because it allows you to stop taking others' negative actions personally. Consider this scenario: you're in a meeting at work and a colleague snaps at you during a discussion. They are rude and dismissive, and your first instinct might be to react defensively, to push back with your own harsh words. But instead, pause and reflect for a moment. Could their outburst be the result of stress or personal issues they're dealing with? Maybe they're having a tough day, or perhaps something has been bothering them that you're unaware of. When you choose to view their behavior as a reflection of their internal state rather than an attack on you, it allows you to detach emotionally from the situation. By responding with compassion, you neutralize the negativity. You don't need to agree with their behavior, but by offering understanding, you create an opportunity to de escalate the situation. Rather than engaging in a verbal confrontation, you can respond with something like, I understand that things might be stressful for you right now. We can talk more when things have calmed down. This compassionate response shows maturity and emotional strength. The Stoics teach us that responding to rudeness with patience and understanding helps maintain our own dignity and prevents the cycle of hostility from continuing. When you fight fire with fire, the situation only escalates. But when you respond with compassion, you break the cycle and preserve your inner peace. In doing so, you also demonstrate that you have the emotional maturity to rise above petty conflicts, which can set an example for others. Another critical Stoic principle to remember when dealing with disrespect is the idea of letting go of the need for approval. This is a theme that runs deep in Stoic thought and is echoed throughout the writings of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes from not relying on external validation. In other words, if you base your sense of self worth on the opinions of others, you are giving them the power to control how you feel. When someone disrespects you, it can feel like a direct assault on your value. However, if your self worth is based on your internal values, then no one else can diminish your sense of self. This is an especially important concept to apply when dealing with disrespect because if you constantly seek approval from others, their negativity will always affect you. In contrast, when you accept that you define your own worth, the opinions of others lose their power. This is not to say that you should disregard the feelings of others entirely. Rather, it's about shifting your focus away from how others perceive you and instead placing your focus on your own values and principles. Imagine for a moment that you are in a situation where someone disrespects you. Maybe they belittle you in front of others or criticize you in a public setting. If you are deeply invested in their opinion of you, their actions may cause you to feel hurt, embarrassed, or defensive. You might start to replay the situation over and over in your mind, wondering what you did wrong or trying to justify yourself. But if you learn to let go of the need for their approval, you can simply acknowledge the disrespect. Understand that their opinion does not define you and move on. One way to practice this is to regularly remind yourself of your own values and principles. What do you stand for? What matters most to you? By grounding yourself in these internal measures, you can detach from the need for external validation. Over time, this will help you become more resilient in the face of criticism and disrespect. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, emphasizes that emotional mastery is essential for a peaceful life. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And this statement applies directly to the way we react emotionally to disrespect. When we feel disrespected, our immediate emotional response is often anger, hurt, or frustration. While these reactions are natural, the Stoics encourage us to manage our emotions thoughtfully and intentionally. The key is emotional detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean that you suppress your emotions or ignore them. It means that you recognize your emotions as they arise, but do not allow them to control your actions. This approach is based on the Stoic idea that our emotions, when left unchecked, can cloud our judgment and lead us to act impulsively. By creating a pause between the emotional trigger and our response, we can make more intentional and measured decisions about how to react. For instance, if someone insults you or behaves rudely towards you, your immediate reaction may be anger or frustration. But before you react, take a step back, breathe, give yourself the space to process your emotions. In that moment, ask yourself, what is the best response to this situation? Rather than responding in anger, you might choose to take a deep breath, maintain your composure, and respond with dignity. Seneca believed that our emotions often exaggerate the reality of a situation and that we are usually more affected by our thoughts about what happened than by the actual event itself. By practicing emotional detachment, you free yourself from the grip of your immediate reactions. This allows you to respond more thoughtfully, with greater clarity and control. Sometimes, the wisest course of action in the face of disrespect is simply to walk away. Stoicism teaches us that not every conflict is worth engaging in, and sometimes the best way to protect your peace is to distance yourself from the situation. Knowing when to walk away is a powerful tool for preserving your emotional well being. If someone is being disrespectful and is not open to constructive conversation, Walking away can be the best option. Stoicism teaches that we do not need to fight every battle. In fact, sometimes the greatest act of strength is to disengage from an unhealthy situation. When you choose to walk away, you demonstrate that you value your peace and dignity more than the need to win the argument or prove a point. For example, imagine you are at a social event and someone begins to insult or belittle you. Rather than engaging in a verbal confrontation that may escalate the situation, you can choose to excuse yourself from the conversation. Walking away doesn't mean that you are weak or afraid. It shows that you are in control of your actions and your emotions. You are not willing to sacrifice your peace for a pointless conflict. In many cases, walking away is the most empowering choice you can make. It sends the message that you will not tolerate disrespect and that you are more focused on protecting your emotional well being than on proving yourself in a toxic interaction. Your integrity is your most valuable asset, and no disrespect should ever compromise it. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that he could only control his actions, not those of others. When confronted with disrespect, it is easy to react impulsively and mirror the negativity. But Stoicism urges us to stay grounded in our values and principles. Integrity means acting in alignment with your highest values, regardless of how others behave. It means responding with dignity, even when others do not show you the same respect. For example, if someone disrespects you during a meeting, you might feel the urge to react with anger or defensiveness. However, doing so would lower your own standing and diminish your integrity. Instead, maintaining your composure and responding with respect demonstrates your strength of character. By staying true to your values, you not only protect your peace, but also set a powerful example for others. You show that your behavior is not dictated by the actions of others, but by your own internal standards of conduct. One of the most powerful tools in Stoic philosophy is the ability to practice empathy and perspective taking. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to become entrenched in your own perspective. You may feel wronged or hurt, and your emotional reaction may cloud your judgment. But the Stoics teach us that by stepping back and considering the perspective of others, we can respond with greater wisdom and clarity. Empathy does not mean excusing bad behavior, nor does it require you to tolerate disrespect. Instead, it allows you to recognize that others' actions are often rooted in their own struggles, fears, and insecurities. By understanding that their behavior is not necessarily a reflection of your worth, you can distance yourself from the emotional charge of the situation. When you practice empathy, you are better able to respond with understanding rather than defensiveness. This doesn't mean you have to accept mistreatment, but it does allow you to recognize that their actions come from a place of internal conflict, not necessarily from malice. By practicing empathy, you protect yourself from taking things personally. This allows you to navigate disrespectful situations with greater emotional resilience, as you understand that others' negativity often reflects their own inner turmoil rather than something you've done wrong. Handling disrespect with stoic wisdom isn't about being passive or allowing others to walk all over you. It's about maintaining control over how you respond, regardless of what others do. The Stoics believed that our true power lies in our ability to control our reactions. By practicing these Stoic principles, compassion, emotional detachment, integrity, perspective taking, and knowing when to walk away, you can rise above disrespect and maintain your peace of mind. As you incorporate these strategies into your daily life, you will find that disrespect no longer has the same power over you. Instead of allowing it to affect your emotional state or your sense of self worth, you will learn to respond with grace, wisdom, and strength. You'll protect your inner peace, deepen your emotional intelligence, and become more resilient in the face of life's challenges. So, the next time you face disrespect, remember, you have the tools to navigate it with wisdom and poise. You don't have to lose your peace to prove a point. Instead, use the Stoic practices outlined here to handle the situation with dignity and control. In doing so, you'll not only emerge unscathed, but also stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. The path to emotional mastery lies in our ability to respond to the world around us with wisdom rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. Stoic philosophy offers the tools to navigate life's challenges with grace and strength, and by incorporating these practices into your daily life, you can cultivate the emotional resilience needed to remain calm, centered, and in control, even in the face of disrespect.